and pioneer in ExxonMobil Agile Transformation Dojo in Thailand. Interesting.
Okay.
Please welcome his talk.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. Dual networks of long-term agility. I've talked to a few people in the beginning of today, right? And then they told me, Jay, I have no idea what this network is about, right? Like, is it about like infrastructure network? Is it about something technical? Then no, right? Outright no. I'm here to tell you today what is the network I'm talking about. Why do we need two of it, right? And then why is it so important for long-term agility, right? So quick introductions about me. My name is Touchaphol, not Tosapon, Touchaphol. Call me Jay, right? Jay, it's much easier. So I'm currently an Agile coach within ExxonMobil, and I've been working there for 5 years. And I'm not going to tell you about all my certifications that I have, because you won't be interested. No, it's just because I don't have any. No. So the last 3 years with ExxonMobil, I have been involved in a team that is developing and nurturing a second network, right? A second network hidden inside ExxonMobil. If you go to our big company, multinational company organizational chart, you won't find this existing anywhere in any official document, right? But even if it's not an official org chart, the culture is still strong, right? I'm experiencing every day. I go there, I have fun. I experience the culture, the benefits of living with that second culture. And I'm here to tell you today, not just why is it important, but also how to start it up and how to keep it going. All right? And before we move on to the more meat of the stuff, I just want to get our focus back to this word, because this is the reason why we're all here today. We want to learn more about agility. We want to know more about it. That's why we're gathered here today in this room, right? And to me, agility is all about accelerating information flow. You look at all the agile values, agile principles, even the Scrum events. I've learned today not to call it ceremonies anymore because it's outdated. Look at all the Scrum events. A lot of things depend on basically accelerating information towards one another, right? You look at first agile value, face-to-face, right? Face-to-face communication, right? You want that information to come faster. When I'm here in front of you, you can see my body language. You can hear me speak, and you can hear it immediately, right? When you have retrospectives, right? You're getting information from someone else, something that you didn't know before, and that information comes to you. When you're releasing MVPs, right? Releasing early working solutions, your goal is to get that information from your users, right? Get that information as fast as you can. All this so you can make better decisions, right? Agility is all about adaptability, flexibility, and only when you have the most up-to-date information, then you can make the best decisions. And in a complex world, it's not just going to be you anymore, right? You alone are not going to be making this decision, right? Your team is going to be making this decision together, because we believe in the power of a team. And we believe that if everyone in the team has the same amount of information, they can make really, really good decisions, right? And that's what, to me, what agility is all about, right? So it's very simple, right? The network I'm talking about is this human connection network, right? The platform, the channels that people can talk and share information to each other, right? Simple. The more networks you have, the more channels of communication that you have, the more channels for information you have, right? And the more channels of information you have, naturally will come more information, as well as it being faster, right? So the goal today is, get more networks. Get more networks in place. This is an example of a network. We are here together. There's a channel of communication that allows me to give information to you and allows me to also to get information from other speakers here today, right? Without this, you probably get this information maybe a few days later or a few months later, or even never at all, right? And I've grouped networks basically into two groups. And this for you is something might be already very basic to you, right? This is what it's called: a value-based network and a skill-based network. What is it? I'll go a bit into the basics of it, and I'll use an example, right, to demonstrate this a little bit. imagine that you are the CEO or the owner of an event organizing company of 9 people, just 9. Let's start with just 9, right? And you have in your company, you have 3 chefs, you have 3, I forgot, 3 decorators, and you have 3 entertainment people, right? Now imagine a situation in which this 9 people is situated in a room with walls around each other, right? They don't have access to talk to each other. The only way that they can communicate is through you, the CEO, right? Can you still deliver value, or can you still deliver a party, let's say, with this setup? Zero network formation. Yes, you still probably can, but it's probably going to be a pretty crappy party because people don't talk to each other, the chefs don't talk to each other. They might have a different menu out, for example. The chef don't talk to the designer, to the decorator, right? That probably means that maybe the theme is going to be different. You might have different foods according to different themes, right? And that's the challenge of non-communication. No information, no network channels with each other. Take then one type of network, which is the skill-based network, right? You probably see this in a lot of organizations, typically older, larger organizations. Some of you might call it functional networks, divisional networks, right? What does this look like? So you break down the walls, you start building a network, you allow communication between the chefs to talk to each other. You call him a chef team, whatever. Now this chef has access to each other, and now information starts to flow. What kind of information, right? New techniques to cook. Maybe this chef is an expert on French food, and this expert is an expert on Chinese food, and now they start to exchange information. And now as a team, they're better equipped to maybe deliver newer, more fanciful parties, right? And the benefits are as such. You get people growth and development. That's one, right? You get people to grow really quickly. That's a benefit of it. And another case, which if you're HR, if you are working in a large company, people disappear. People leave your company all the time, right? And a new joiner comes in, right? With this setup, it's super easy to get this new joiner acquainted to learn new skills, right? Learn the skills of being chef. Really makes these people become experts really, really quickly. Second, you're more comfortable. Humans have a natural tendency to work with people who has the same ideas, who has the same behaviors, right? And mostly this manifests in same type of people taking the same type of jobs and positions. So it's much easier for, let's say, if you're an IT analyst, if you're a developer, let's say, to talk to another developer, super easy to talk to. But if you get a developer to talk to, let's say, a dancer, right? You have totally different languages, you've lived very different experiences, so it's much harder to work with each other. You have arguments maybe sometimes because you don't see eye to eye, right? So it's much more fun and easy to just put people with the same skill set together, right? And obviously resource efficiency. You group people into the same skills and you can manage how much they can split their time to work. And that's skill-based. You already know this, right? And the other one, value-based network. And you may know this as typical Agile teams, right? Teams that are set up, ready to deliver value. Some might call it tiger teams, Agile teams, Scrum teams, right? And these are typically set up in a way that different skill sets are put together in the same team, and that allows them to deliver value, right? And the benefits is so, right? So you get a more focused team. They're really focused on the core of the company, which is to deliver parties, right? To organize events. They get a more diverse culture, totally opposite to the skill set based network, right? Because you have people from different backgrounds. That allows another network for a very diverse set of ideas. It encourages innovation. It encourages an exchange of ideas that probably a chef might not have ever heard in his life, but now is hearing it, is talking to it, is getting information from a decorator, from an entertainer, right? And finally, flow efficiency. With this setup, you can deliver work faster because you don't have walls to cross over when you are talking to a chef and a decorator and an entertainer, right? So that's two benefits, right? Each network has its own benefits, and I'm gonna leave this on screen for a minute, and I'm gonna show another word, right? So take this in: skill-based network and value-based network. I'm gonna show you in the next screen, and just think by yourself what you think, right? Okay. Silos. I've tested this with a lot of people, and the first thing that comes to your mind is a skill-based silo, right? You have people in the same division, you have HR sitting with each other and not talking to, I don't know, payroll, accountants, sit separately. Those are the first thoughts that comes to mind, right? So the definition of silos, in which no one can absolutely see on this screen because it's very small, it's basically a setup of a grouping that discourages communication or flow of information, right? It discourages working with each other, right? So if you look at it, if you have even if you set up your teams to become a value-based network, right? There's no ability to communicate in terms of skill, and you won't get any benefits in terms of employee development, people development, growth, resource efficiency. It's very difficult to get that benefits, right? Typical example, you have if you're in a classic multinational company that has been here longer than 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? You'll probably typically find this setup, right? And the first thing that if you have Agile coaches come to tell you, one of the first thing they advise is to break your teams up, reform them, right? Break it apart into value-based teams. If you're skill-based networks, break it apart and transform it, right? Just poke it. And what do? You just poke it, break it apart, right? And then you replace it with a new one, right? However, I think we have to be mindful. Your network of a skill-based network is already with its benefits, right? It's not like it's bad. There's no bad, there's no good. There's just which network is appropriate for what you want to do, right? So the solution is very simple. Don't break it apart, but connect them together. Bridge them together. Your skill-based network, if you have a skill-based network now, bridge them together, make them more value-based, right? If you already have a value-based team and you don't have a skill set network-based team, bridge them together, connect people with the same skills together. And ta-da, you have the benefits of both, the best of both worlds, right? Super easy. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the dual networks, right, of long-term agility, right? So if now you're thinking, it can't be that simple, right? You can't just add stuff together and you get both benefits and you don't get the bad stuff along with it. Yes, there are some disadvantages to it, right? And what are those? One, obviously, time split. You get less time on each network, right? Less time on each network means you might achieve less according to the goals, according to the purpose of each network. That's fine, that's understandable. And the balance in which you want to do that is entirely up to you. I think Mr. Joel, if you were here in the last two sessions, actually mentioned, I think, 20%. That's entirely up to you. If you're an owner or maybe you're going to be a future owner of a company, that's entirely up to you to decide whether this number is going to be 10%, 20%, maybe 50-50, right? It depends, up to you, right? The second one is potential confusion of priorities. You have two networks. Each network has its own goals, its own purpose. And classic example when Agile coaches tell you, you shouldn't have conflicting priorities because it's difficult to choose, right? It's going to be there sometimes. I think reality is you will have situations where you will have to split sometimes, and it's more of a question, how will you handle that confusion, right? Which ties into my next point. When you have multiple priorities, then you talk about focus, yeah? People say focus is good. You want to lower your whip. You want to really focus on getting things done, start getting things delivered, start getting things finished, right? So potential downside to running multiple networks is to loss of focus, and thus equals to less deliverables, less quality, less stuff. I'm just going to show you a tweet. Just hopefully you can read it. Take a minute. Procrastinate means ooh นะครับ ooh. Yep, I had the same reaction. This is me. Sometimes too much focus is bad. That's just what I want to say, right? Especially if you've been working in Scrum teams, right? You work some people are 1 week sprints, some people are 2 weeks. You work every sprint, you come in, you get super focused, you work, and then it all gets a bit overwhelming after a while. You know, you need something, you need time to maybe slack off a little bit and work on something else, recharge your brain. And that's kind of my case against overfocus. There's something that we call focus fatigue, right? Focus fatigue. When you actually spend time to focus on something, you spend energy, and then you lose too much of the energy. You just end up can't focusing anymore, right? So it's the case of dual networks having losing focus. So maybe it's not such a bad thing sometimes. This is all I want to say to this, right? And having dual networks does link back to support long-term agility. It encourages more flow of information, right? It encourages, especially if you're missing that skill set piece, please create the bridge between it, because that's what will let your company survive long-term, because that's what will make your company be more sustainable, right? Because skills change all the time. If you get people who's has a similar purpose in learning, in developing, similar skill set people, only when they can gather together, there's a time for it, then they can learn and develop and be ready for the future, right? That was about the why and the what's. And now I'm going to tell you the how. Because ExxonMobil has this network in place, and it was started around 10 years ago, before I joined the company, right? So this network is a model called the ELT model. The ELT model, and it stands for Extended Leadership Team. Again, you will not find this model in any official document in our company, right? But it is there, and it is very strong, right? What does it look like? What does it look like? This is a typical organizational chart. And I'm not saying this is our organizational chart exactly, but just a basic, can you see the letters? ExxonMobil IT organizational chart, right? And typically it has standard stuff, you know, like what typical companies have. Managers, middle managers, supervisors, tech leads, team leads, and working team, right? And these are organized in a way where there's a mix of skill-based networks and a mix of value-based networks at the bottom level, right? And that's great. And this is the ExxonMobil ELT, the separate ELT organizational chart. What do you think it looks like? Looks exactly the same. Were you expecting something different? So yeah, I mean, we still have kind of like this some hierarchy there. It's an ELT lead. We still call them leads, network leads, sub-track, sub-network leads, and also the working team, right? And each of this is broken down into at that level, right? So each track lead owns the network, right? And each network has its own purpose. What does that look like, right? This exists simultaneously. It is not separate. These are consistent of the same people. What does that look like? So when you join the company, you have an official designation, right? Which is in the red column. You should fall into at least one place in the official organizational structure, right? So for example, you have fuse and loops, which is what we do, manufacturing or analytics, right? But also at the same time, you can also be affiliated. You can also join another separate network at the same time. So that's ELT strategy. You have innovation and design, Scrum Master, community of practice network, or even safety network, right? If you have ExxonMobil friends, especially if they work in IT, you ask them what they do, right? They will tell you two things. Not just what they do as a position, but what their work is, what do they contribute to as a network, right? And there's some cool things I want to share with you. So some notable things we do is that we refresh this structure every year, right? We clean it apart and then we let people change, rotate around, try it out these roles, right? And we pivot every month. We set goals by yearly and then we adapt according to every month, right? And that makes us flexible. That makes us scale up and scale down as necessary, right? We also allow each network to create their own goals. There's no goal that's commanded down towards anyone that this you must get done. This network is for this purpose, you must get done. We allow the tracks to come up with their own version of what they want to do, right? Within certain limits, of course. There's no like beer drinking network track, right? It has to tie back somehow. And anyone can sign up for anything. Anything, by anything, I really mean anything, because look at this picture back again, right? Every year there's a volunteer sign up basis. And if you are a manager, you can sign up to be a working team in that network. If you are a team lead, you can sign up to be maybe the ELT lead, the biggest lead of all. Or if you are a manager, you can actually come down and work as a working, did I say that already? If you are individual contributor, you can sign up to be a lead position. There's no limitations. We allow equal opportunities for all, right? All that we ask for is that you have the passion for it, right? If you want to learn this skill, you want to exercise this skill, join. You want to join as a lead, fine. You want to join as a individual contributor, fine. Do it. What's the impact out of all of this? How much time do I have? 5 minutes, okay. So what's the impact that we got from all of this, right? So ExxonMobil has been doing this model for around 10 years and it evolved for so long. Initially, it was just a program to develop leadership, right? It's a kind of like extra work you get assigned to do to develop leadership skills, right? But now it has evolved into something really much more dynamic, very special, very unique. That's why I want to share with you, right? And it's so strong in ExxonMobil as a culture. What's the impact that we got from all this, right? Increased employee satisfaction. We got less focus fatigue. Discover hidden talents. We allow people to maybe try different disciplines and they like it, and then maybe they discover a skill they've never knew they had before. Uncover missed opportunities. When you have different people working together in different networks, that just allows more opportunities for new problems, new innovations to be uncovered. Increase leadership skills. This allows any people of any level to start practicing their leadership skills. I believe this is one of our core values that we value in ExxonMobil. And know more people, right? Especially in a big company, I think this is a huge thing, right? Because it's you don't want to just work with 5 people and limit your scope to just that 5 people. You want to get people to know more people, and then that allows for unlimited possibilities of information flow to happen. The how-to then. That's all the good stuff that we did. I'm going to go into the how-to. If you want to start, if you have nothing of the sort, there's 3 easy steps to start with, right? And the first one is to just gather people, a small group of people, 3, 4, 5. Don't make it too big, right? And yeah, find passionate individuals with common purposes, common goals. Get them together. Second, formalize it, right? Form the team. Make the team a team, right? Pick a name. Do little projects together, because that's what really makes you, united. Do little projects together, share some experiences together, and have fun, right? This network of ours is based on passion, so have fun with it and make it official. Share your success to others. That's how you really make it concrete, make it official, right? Share your success to others, start recruiting more people. Be the change you want to be. Inspire people to start their own little networks. Get that information flow going, get that network going in your company, right? 4 key elements that we want to look out for when you're trying to form these networks. You have to watch out for this. This is what we believe is very important in our success, right? And you can take note of this down. It might be valid for you guys as well. 1 is volunteer basis. We want people with passion, right? We want people to do it because they want to, not because they are forced to do. It is not compulsory for people to join this network, but still a lot of people do, right? We want support. We need support. You need time. You need time from leadership. You need time from management that they say that they support. I'm gonna split some time to do a different network, right? We need sometimes financial support. If you want to achieve big things, maybe you need money. Clear goals is important as well. Clear goals. Having that very clear direction and sense of purpose is what shapes a network and what keeps it strong, and it is what keeps it going on and on sustainably, right? And finally, when you start to move really bigger, one of the key elements is you have this really group of strategy team that really helps shape and define and help gets people to still talk to each other, not fall into little silos again, right? So you have 4 or 5 groups of people in a network, and how do you get them to talk to each other then, right? So it's kind of a loop of forming networks and bridging them, and forming new networks and bridging them together. Now, a question I've been hearing, like I think since morning, right? You start to have this network, you start to have people to work together, but when you start to scale, right, something weird starts happening. Like the model that you do suddenly don't work anymore. And I don't really have an answer for that, but I want to give you a guide to 2 numbers I found that is very crucial to when you start to scale, right? And the first number is, I think you're familiar with this if you're Agilist. The first number is 2. The first number is 2. 2 pizza teams, right? 2 pizza teams. So that's basically suggested is a size limit to when people can still work together well, right? There's a phenomenon called social loafing, right? Social loafing, which explains why this is important, right? So imagine you're playing tug of war, right? And you have a team of 5 people, and each 5 people exert 10 units of force each. So if you have 5 people pulling together, you're going to get 50 units of force, right? But once you start to go up to 10 people, 12 people, 13, if you have 12 people, you won't get 120. You might get 115. If you go to 130, 13 people, you won't get 130. You'll get maybe 121, right? So you'll get diminishing returns. And that's the reason for this number, actually. And the second number, which might be new to some of you, is actually 150. Anyone heard of this number or know where I'm going with this? 150. When you are typically a startup, you're what, 30, 40 people, still small, right? And that's fine. Your communication, you don't need specialized networks to talk to people, right? You have 10 people, you can talk to each other. You don't need to set up anything special for it. But once your people start to exceed this number, and this number is called the Dunbar number, right? This is coined by a psychology professor called Robin Dunbar. He theoretized that this is the limit for humans to form social connections, right? At that time, I can only sustain 150 quality social connections. Right? So you see a lot of times when companies scale, they want to keep this number 150, less than 150, right? So it's a number in which you can use to guide to when you decide whether you're going to form networks or whether you need additional structures to help this 150 people talk to each other. Maybe you don't need this team to help form a process for small groups, but you need some process to address this when you scale. All right, and yeah, that's how you scale, right? That's some thoughts on maybe if you want to scale to make your company bigger, get more networks, right? And now I've come to the end, so hopefully you get some ideas on what I meant by dual networks, and you get an example of how we do in ExxonMobil, right? And I want to end with this. It all comes back to building networks together. We are here today. Again, this is another network that we can utilize, right? Make use of it. Make it strong, develop it, and develop it inside your company, in your organization as well. And that's it. Good luck if you're trying to do this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before anything else, any questions? Is that a question or? Okay.
It's a stretch, it's not a question.
We still have time for the
Yeah, we
question,
still
right?
have time. Relax and think. If not, actually, I have question.
Thank you.
For
It's very nice, she asks questions when no questions. Go ahead.
so typically the goal of this not ETL but is the
ELT,
ELT.
Standard Leadership Team.
So normally the goal is what kind of products you produce from this.
Originally, this group was again modeled to improve leadership skills, right? Just allow opportunities for people who's not in an official leadership position to try out leadership skills. It's a safe place to fail, right? But now we've evolved into using OKRs for this big group, right? So we want this group. We recognize that right now there's 20 networks falling under ELT, right? And that's such a huge potential to do something big, right? To do something together. So we started utilizing OKRs to set a common goal. How do these 20 networks combine their powers together and create something that they cannot achieve alone? Right? So we have goals such as improve branding for our company. We have goals such as to deliver new products to the oil and gas industry. Right? And we have goals to develop skills of the entire organization of 3,000 people in our company. Right? So it changes every year.
Okay. Yeah. I heard that the team will decide the goal
Yes.
themselves.
Yes, each of them has their own local goals, right? If you're gathered together as a Scrum Master, you probably have Scrum Master-ish goals, right? But how do we utilize that to combine that passion and channel it to something bigger together? Right? And that's the key.
And how do you partition the time for the normal org chart and this?
I think same question. 20. You said 20%. I think 20% was actually an unofficial kind of guideline. I'm not sure where that number came from actually, but it depends. It really depends. It really depends on each person. You can do 0, or you can do 20, 30 up to your discussion with your team, right? Yeah,
Okay.
very flexible.
Okay, cool.
Questions.
Yes, please.
The last slide about the 150, something like that. You said that you can maintain the communication within 150 people. So do you have any trick, any secret keys that how can we do that?
150 people.
150 people, because I thought that it is big number. Even 100, I think it's gonna break up already.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to remember this though. 150 is the total number of human connections, and this does not just mean in your company, right? Because you have this connection, you have this social interaction with your family, your friends outside the company. Unless you are a workaholic and work in your company, then that number applies. So when companies decide to scale and use this number as a reference, they sometimes fail to account for the personal interactions that each person has. So the actual number, if you're a company, might be less.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Any questions?